question. I have another slide there for that question that you asked earlier. Wait, you're going too fast. Okay, here. You asked a question about Easterners or Indians accepting Egyptian yoga or accepting the kinetic concept. This is a picture of a lady who is considered to be one of the foremost sages of Indian spirituality, of Western sages of Indian spirituality. She died back in 1993, I believe. And here she is with her spiritual teacher in India, Swami Sivananda. You may have heard of him. It is a book, a compilation of her writings of Hatha Yoga, the hidden language. Hatha Yoga is what we call Simapau Jetmetra, the movements, the postures of the gods and goddesses. And this is what she had in her book. These are the postures that she was relating out of the Kemetic culture. These are all pages of her book. And so I put them in here so you can, and play them all so you can skip the full feeling of it. But it's quite wonderful that she saw this wisdom. Most Indian people will reject this concept out of hand. They will say Indian yoga is an Indian science and nobody else has anything to do with yoga. We invented it, and so on and so forth. Also, we have a person by the name of Ajit Mukherjee, who is known for his writings on tantric philosophy. And this is what he says. Tantric, its influence has also been evident in the Mediterranean culture, such as those of Egypt and Crete. And for him to say something like this is quite meaningful. Now, these particular books I'm going to show you now, I discovered them in the Brooklyn Museum, in the Wilbur Library of Egyptology. Library of Egyptology. These are written by Indian scholars. Okay? Indian scholars. The general belief in India was that as soon as a man died, he was conducted to Yama and Chitragupta. And in Egypt we have Osiris, Asar, and Thoth, Jehuti, the scribe of the gods, Chitragupta. Registers all the actions of man and woman with the same tradition. And this is an Indian person noticing this. Most Indian people, again, will deny this. They will deny this. It was so in Egypt that they had the same thing. Another gentleman by the name of Suhansu Kumar Ray. The men and women in Buddhist age had curious names, not at all pleasing to the ears. But with the advent of the Sanskrit age, choice classical names began to be preferred. We know Aradha, Kali, Kamala, Karima, Nivanani, Malina, Kalyani, but we do not know who are Rui, Saru, Kui, Ai, Sua. Certainly they sound Egyptian, which show a typical non-Sanskritic system of nomenclature, again resembling the Egyptian. And this squares with the discoveries that also I have made and other scholars have made about the early Buddhist culture being associated with the city of Memphis and Memphite theology. I think that was it. These are just some extra slides I had at the end of the program. Any other questions?
Yes. Set is also a mental.
Excuse me?
Set is a god.
Mm-hmm. No, Seth doesn't really have any temples. He had one main patron, which was Seti. Seti actually means Set, and Set was. There are several divinities that did not have temples, and Set is one of them. And one of the reasons is that in the late period, Set was associated by some with foreigners who were trying to attack Egypt. And one of the reasons for that is that you heard the term Hyksos. Hyksos were Asiatics who came in and attacked Egypt and actually controlled it for a certain period of time. And they adopted Set as their patron god. He's the god also of the desert. And Heru is the god of the green grass area. So, being associated with Set took on a negative connotation later on. But in the beginning of the culture, Set was actually seen as a benevolent divinity, and but a divinity who represents the lower forces, and not negative forces, but lower forces. Your forces for sexuality, your forces for greed and for power. These are actually not negative forces. They become negative. You should have, desire to have food. You should desire. All these things are natural, but the unnatural application of it leads to unrighteousness. It leads to ignorance and delusion, and leads to hurting other people. The exaggerated desires lead to exaggerated greed, lead to hoarding of wealth, and depriving others and making them suffer, and all these kinds of issues come up. So actually, Set cannot be considered like a devil or any of those kinds of epithets that don't apply there. Set represents the ego of a person that has become beset with ignorance and misunderstanding, delusion. That's what Set represents. There's no devil in material sciences.
And in the temple, Haru's temple, Set, Asar, in each of their temple, they're both telling the same story on the walls.
Yes, you will find a concordance. Usually you will not find them saying the exact same things, but sometimes you will. Mostly you'll find them giving pieces of the puzzle. That's what you usually find. You find the story of the battle in Heru's temple, and the birth of Heru is told in Aset's temple, and the resurrection of Asar is told in Asar's temple. And I want to show you this is really wonderful. You can see it in the books. You can see the pictures in the books. So you won't find them all told in that way. You'll find the relating parts of the teaching.
In terms of, I was recognizing Djibouti represents man, and also Ra represents man. But do they represent different levels of man?
Well, Ra represents, you're talking about the Trinity, Amun Ra Ptah.
Yeah.
In that concept, Amun Ra Ptah, the great Trinity, Amun represents witnessing consciousness, and Ra represents the interaction between that witness and time and space, the physical reality. So it is mind, but it represents like the totality of mind. Tehuti represents the cognizing aspect of mind. The cognizing means the ability to think, about subjects and to compare ideas, and Ra represents the total, the total encompassing mind itself, the instrument they use to have interaction with your inner self, with the creation. And we said that the creation is illusory, and if you were to, and we'll discuss this more tomorrow, perhaps, in the meditation lecture. If you were to, through meditation practice, allow one of those aspects of the Trinity to be dissolved, it would be like a tripod of the camera. It's 3 legs. If you take off one leg, the whole camera falls down. And your whole camera of your worldly interaction falls apart if you're able to stop one of those legs of the Trinity. So this is the Trinity that you use to have interaction with the world. And one of those aspects is stopped or suspended for a time. You would have experience of the world not, or experience of existence not through the Trinity, but you have a direct experience with it. And that would allow you to have the wisdom that we're talking about, the experience that we're talking about. But I'll go into more details tomorrow. That'll be good, because I think we haven't really gone into details of practice of meditation. We've done many different lectures on different things, but I think it'd be good to do that, to help elevate that practice. And that's part of what I just told you now is part of the philosophy of meditation, the deeper aspect of the philosophy of meditation. And kind of advanced, but it's, I guess you're ready to kind of hear that kind of thing.
It's about the unconscious mind, and I've noticed a lot lately since I've been working nights and I sleep during the day that I lose track of exist. It's like I don't exist. I go to sleep at 4:30 in the morning and wake up at 11 with a blink of an eye, and I feel rested. I get up, I'm fine, but I can almost not bear witness to it as it consciously, but when I wake up, I know what has happened, as opposed to not even being conscious of what the unconscious mind was. Now I'm conscious of what the unconscious mind is, so I can feel it a little bit better. But I guess when you, and I'm actually asking the question, but when you are devoid of ego, is that what happens? Is that you cease to exist because you identify yourself as as myself, like Kareem? Since I don't identify, I'm unconscious. Is that what that unconscious state is doing for me?
The short answer is yes. To all you said, the short answer is yes. Think of it as the Trinity that Sarah Bell mentioned a few minutes ago. There is actually a precursor to them, and that's called Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar manifests as Amun-Ra-Ptah. So the all-encompassing divinity, the oneness, the non-duality, manifests as the Trinity. Now consider that your Kareem is the Amun. If you were to stop your concept of you knowing yourself as Kareem, you would get rid of that leg of the Trinity. And then if you get rid of that, if you do not identify anymore with that Kareem, what is left to identify with, what is left for you to experience. And that's sort of what is happening when you go to sleep, because your Kareem is kind of like dissolving for a time. When you come up with a dream, another personality comes up, which you know as you somehow, and seems natural and normal to you, but it's not Korean. But it's you. And when you stop dreaming, when you don't wake up, what happens there? There's no Korean, there's no dream world, and yet there is still something. This is the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious mind. If you were to get rid of those, you would have the never. And that would be your self transcending your time and space reality of yourself as Korean, and in all your manifestations in the different dream world or whatever manifestation. And so people do actually have these experiences they transcend on a daily basis. But the key to the problem, understanding what the problem is that there, and I talked about this specifically in Egyptian Yoga Volume 2. You find a chart there that kind of shows this. There's a positive and a negative experience. When you fall asleep and you have a dream, that is a negative experience in reference to your wakeful consciousness in the dream state. And I was getting technical and perhaps a little confusing, but I'm not talking about the waking state. When you go into the dream world, which is the astral plane, you can go one of two ways. You can go consciously or you can go unconsciously. You go unconsciously is called a dream. Things happen to you and you don't know, you're not even thinking why it happens. It seems normal. Somebody may be running you off with a car and say, oh yes, this is normal, this happens. And you may go start flying, yeah, that's normal. Somebody's running out, like a tiger's running after you, yeah, let me get away from this tiger, I'm scared of it. And it all seems normal. If you were to go into the world in a conscious way, you would notice many things happening, but okay, this is a dream. I'm not troubled by this, nothing's happening really. So imagine, and that's the positive experience. For this waking state, there's also a positive experience. Most people experience this physical world as a abiding reality. And those who achieve higher consciousness see this in the same way as you would be in a dream, but awake. And that is the state that you're looking for to have. If you were able to experience that wakefulness, which means being awake as compared to all human beings who are asleep, even though they're walking around talking and acting as if they know everything. If you were to achieve that experience perennially, meaning in an unbroken fashion, then you would not be caught up in your dream world of the sleep or the dream world of the time and space reality either. And that's called enlightenment. In order to do that, you must do the disciplines that have been discussed, so that your personality can be purified, and the practice of meditation so that you can begin to raise yourself up to have those experiences. I'll talk about detail tomorrow of what happens and how these experiences come and what you can expect and all those kinds of things. But there's also, you should know that there are the techniques that will be discussed are tomorrow, and that have been discussed up to now, what you have in the books, are actually basic techniques that are given for the general population. There are some advanced techniques of meditation, using breathing exercises and certain visualizations that will act to activate certain energies and manipulate certain energy centers, and those will, how should I say it? Not promote is one word, but really it will consciousness to be, it'll don't want to use the word force, but it'll push consciousness to be awakened. And those are given to only to advanced initiates, advanced practitioners. And in our program, and the way we reorganize, the way it's set up, those who attain the associate degree programs that we have, those who attain the level of study, and who go for further to be practicing as ministers, entry-level priests and priestesses, they will be given those techniques because they have, by their actions or by the time of the practice, proven that they will that they have prepared themselves and they're willing to do what is required, and so on and so forth. Others, it will be given also on an individual basis. Who are judged, by those ministers or by myself to be worthy of that practice. Like, for instance, these techniques and some of the philosophy, some of the aspects of philosophy would not be given to ordinary people like just coming here off the street and we just want to hang out or we just want to see what it's all about and all those kind of things that would not be discussed with them. It would be given like a general teaching. We just discuss what the teaching is about, but not specific and deep methods of spiritual practice that are reserved for serious practitioners. It's interesting, just as a side issue, since you were all here before, I get this kind of comment many times, the same kind of comments that you heard before, coming from those kinds of groups who I say, I don't find anything in contradiction with what you're saying here. And then sometimes they even say, oh, my teacher taught me the same thing. And I'm getting the same thing over in my mosque or in my temple or whatever. And this is one of the most what's a good word to describe that? Not serving. It's a kind of delusion. That's the best way to explain it. It's a kind of delusion that many people have. And that they're trying to realize that they're trying to support their tradition and they're trying to not face the reality that they have not received something that they should be receiving. I get that a lot from the Moorish groups. I get a lot from other groups. They tell me, oh, my teacher even says that he's an Egyptian initiate. But the funny thing is that they come to me saying that, oh, I read your books and I really gain insights into what I'm learning over here. So say if you're getting insights by reading our books, why don't you come over here then? But you follow what I'm getting at. And people don't reason that way. If you have to come to me, and I get it from Yoruba a lot. If you come into me and to our books to get insights into what you're supposed to be learning over there, then what's going on over there? What's going on over there? Those people don't connect those two dots, and so they stay doing what they're doing, and then coming here to drink the waters, which is fine and wonderful. But I'm saying is that level of practice is not going to allow them to progress in that tradition. Just coming to drink the water sometimes, and coming. And some of them call me. Mostly they don't call me directly. They get the books, and I get those comments a lot, like quite a lot. I get those comments, and sometimes you can get letters from them. And so getting you to understand is that because you need to know, because I know a lot of you have had those kind of ideas of altruism and ecumenism. Let's all be together and come to our group and all this kind of thing. And actually, that's going to be more of a disruptive element to have people who are like that, who are not really into it, who want to kind of stay in their own thing, but come here and kind of like add those who watch, I always joke with Samaja, because I like Star Trek, one of my favorite shows since I was a kid. You know, the newer shows, they have these characters called the Borg, right? And the Borg like to add things to their distinctiveness. They like to take things. And that's how those people are. They like the Borg. They like to take your little thing and then add it to their little practice. The yoga people are like that too. The yoga people who come to me as well. You know, practicing the Western yoga, they're not really getting a deep philosophy. So they become, but they still want to try to continue what they're doing, but come here also, and that doesn't really work. And saying that you are, and you should be careful in this way. When you hear people who say that, oh yes, I'm a practitioner of the mysteries too, and I'm this and I'm that. That's I'm trying to give you in no uncertain terms what it means to be a practitioner. Also, as I said before, we have no affiliation with any Masonic orders, and Masonic orders and Freemasons and lodges and all these kind of things are late development in history. They developed like only like in the last 200-300 years. It has nothing to do with the ancient tradition. So they try to adopt symbols and icons from it to elevate themselves in status, like the Washington Monument, like the Lincoln Monument. And these are actually symbols taken from Egyptian and Greek culture, and the Greeks got it from the Egyptians. Shown this. The Greek architecture was already in place in Egypt, in Saqqara, in ancient times. The Greek columns, the Greek column accents, the Doric columns, we found them all. It's there. And so people want to say that they are practitioners of this or practitioners of that. We don't see them here. They're not practitioners of it. Believe me. The Rosicrucians and other groups, they mix a lot of Western spirituality with the Egyptians, so it's not the same thing. Especially the Rosicrucians, they mix a lot of Christianity into some actually correct notions of ancient Egyptian, but it's like now a synthesized new something, new tradition. So it's not the same. And one more thing that I'll add to what I said before, I talked about the Islamic scriptures that are denigrated, and they specifically mention ancient Egyptian practice as polytheism. That's how they refer to it. You go to the Quran, fine. And of course, the Bible, the Old New Testament, talks about ancient Egypt in a very denigrated way, as the place of debauchery or sin that they have to escape from and all kind of thing. But it's very interesting. I make the point in the book that for hating something so much, and saying that it's so bad, you know, first of all, Abraham goes to Egypt to save himself and his family from the famine in Asia Minor. And then Joseph goes to Egypt to save himself. And then Moses brings everybody out after they've been saved. And then in the New Testament, Jesus and Joseph and Mary go into Egypt to save themselves. And then guess who else goes in there? Muhammad. Muhammad goes to Egypt, and then he merges with his philosophy, with his teaching, and then he goes on a rampage with it. What? And where people go out here following these traditions as if they are the be-all and end-all of spirituality, and it's not so. Like, I need to tell you in this way. I'm not trying to be egoistic or anything about it. I have to tell you in this kind of way to maybe shock you a little bit, or into realizing what nonsense you're hearing. And you should be polite with it. You should be understanding with people like that, but you should be forthright and also really forthright is the term I want you to be. I don't want you to waste your time in idle discussions with people like that. I don't want you to pursue relationships with people like that, because it's going to waste your time. Like, don't bring them here trying to bring them into the fold or bring them into your practice. They're not into that. They're a different place.
Just have a comment. I see an opportunity that when you have someone that is a true seeker and want to be enlightened, because a lot of times in that process, you don't know where to go. So you may go to Canada searching for enlightenment, quote unquote. You may go to China. You might go all the way around the world in terms of different places that you go seeking wisdom and seeking truth. Because in my path, in terms of seeking truth, everybody seems to claim that they have truth. And it all seems to contradict it. Especially when it's exclusionary and everybody seems to have a patent on the truth. So you go here trying to discover it. So you follow that path along, trying to get the full understanding of it. You don't leave this practice because you don't want to leave not knowing that you fully partake in what this thing has to offer. So you're there. I guess what I'm saying, trying to tie, this together, is that a person that has true intent may come in on the auspices of anything in terms of a religion. But to exclude that person or to categorize that person or personify that person as being a type that has no right to enter into a place because they have been here, they have partaken of this doctrine or whatever, to me seems very exclusionary and seems like it prevents an opportunity for a true seeker to find that enlightenment because of the stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's like it's categorizing and stereotyping people based on a practice that they may have been studying on and not giving them an opportunity based on your idea of what the person believes. Perhaps at some point, if they do have an opportunity to enter into this place, then they can put aside, they can become enlightened, they can go, aha, they can receive the intuition, and they can have those aha moments by being in the presence of this teaching.
Well, one of the things, thank you for your comments. One of the things that I would say to that is that I've heard this before many times. And I was trying to be tactful before, and I guess I'm dealing with it more directly because it's more of a closed group. But I think I responded to that in a certain way before. I've heard this before, and I'm agreeing with you from the standpoint of we are not barring any true seeker or any honest or sincere person who is seeking for truth. And as far as being a purveyor of truth or being a tradition that claims to have truth, I don't think that I have done that. What I would say is that the teaching speaks for itself, and the practice and experience of the teaching is what gives it legitimacy. And we're discussing the concept of religion relating to other spiritualities so that we can better understand what we're doing. That's why I've gone in that route, in a sense. And that's why that's why I've been so concentrating so much on making emphasis to understand that the enlightening experience itself, the resurrection that it has, that is the key and that is the goal. You will not find those kinds of teachings in those other systems of spirituality that we mentioned. And those who come to us from those perspectives, and like I said, I've heard that so many times before, saying comments like, "Oh, I've heard this teaching before, and it's nothing contradictory here," and it's like a way in which we can excuse ourselves from pursuing anything other than what we have, because we already have the answers. That's what the statement is really saying. And I'm not sure that you really caught that in that way, but that's really what it means. It means that, I've got all the stuff, I'm getting it already, and I don't need anything here. It's all good, and it's all in harmony, and you're not having anything new. That's really what is behind that. There's a way for people to kind of excuse themselves out of it and stay with what they're doing. Sometimes people do that because they've been through so many years, they invested so much time and energy that they don't want to consider that they've lost time, or many reasons why that can happen. But we're not excluding any honest seekers or sincere people who are searching for truth. And furthermore, I say that, so I was trying to give insight into what it is to seek truth. See, a person seeking truth would not make those kinds of statements. And of course says, yes, I'd like to come back here. Let's see if he comes back here. Because the proof of the pudding, as they say, is in the eating. We have an ancient Egyptian saying that says morals are judged by deeds. They're not judged by your words, by your nice thoughts or nice wishes. They're judged by deeds. That is the key to mock philosophy. You don't put your words on the balance scales of mine with your deeds. That's why I asked the gentleman, would he change his name from Muhammad? I mean, it's not going to happen. It doesn't happen for people like that.
No, it doesn't happen. Doesn't have an opportunity over time if the person is.
Well, see, yes, there's opportunity over time, but he has to make that choice, and nobody's barring him. But I'm telling you all who are here to not be wasting your time pursuing those personalities, but you should be practicing your spiritual discipline. People who, many of you have come to this by being just in a seemingly like a serendipity kind of contact with someone who is related to this group, like a word of mouth kind of thing, or they've read books, one of the books that they've been on the mailing list, that kind of thing. I'm trying to say is that those people are more inclined to be serious practitioners, as opposed to someone who is going to a church or to a mosque or been to something else for years and that kind of thing. And that has to be clearly understood. That it doesn't work that way for those people. It doesn't operate that way. And sometimes they may want to, but they may not be able to, because they're, like I said, have the time and energy and the willpower invested in something else, and their social status, or many different points there. And so we're not like proselytizing and seeking to convert people. This is a free process for those who are mature and ready to do the personal research that is necessary and to seek on the path. Like I say, a true seeker would not make those kinds of statements. If they are seeing deeply into the practice, because there are several that we can go into instead of my going at that time. I just dealt with it to the extent I did. There are several things that I can point to that are in stark contradiction with the Western path. And yes, I know he made a statement like something to the effect of, oh yes, and we have a mystical tradition and all this kind of thing. Again, one of the, just to give you some insight into the mystical side of Islam, which is Sufism. That's the mystical side that I know of, that I'm familiar with. It is documented that by Arab history, now Arab history documents that a Sufi zealot was the one who defaced the Great Sphinx. What kind of mysticism is That's what I'm trying to understand. Because people consider mysticism practices that go beyond the ordinary orthodox. Orthodox means accepted practices, and anything that goes beyond maybe the practice of meditation or practice of some kind of philosophy. And mysticism, to my understanding, is a growing into the awakening of all-encompassing divinity. Now, what does someone who experiences all-encompassing divinity have to do with destroying icons from anyone's religion? I have no idea what that purpose would be. So therefore, I cannot consider that to be a righteous form of mysticism, if it can be called mysticism at all. So there are serious issues here, and I got into these in the African origins for a particular purpose, because I know some of you have questions, some of you come from different traditions, and you're coming into this practice. I want you to know with no uncertainties what it is about and what the differences are with traditions.